Hey guys, tonight we're headed somewhere hot. Not beachside cocktail hot. Think more, can't touch the metal on your rifle without losing skin hot. That's right, you're in the Iraqi desert. And not just during the day. No, tonight, you're trying to sleep under a sky so full of stars it almost feels rude not to stare at them. The wind's dry, your socks are crunchy, and the only thing separating you from a night full of existential crises is the low, steady hum of a diesel generator right outside your tent. You're a soldier, and this is your outpost now. Lucky you. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and what time it is there. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you notice isn't the heat, it's the dust. That ever-present, never-leaving, clingy like a bad ex kind of dust that works its way into everything. Your boots, your toothbrush, even your dreams. You step off the transport truck, and it hits you. Welcome to the middle of nowhere. Population. A couple dozen sleep-deprived soldiers, and a suspiciously smug-looking lizard that watches you unpack. Your cot is waiting for you. Or rather, a glorified metal hammock pretending to be furniture. The canvas is stretched and sagging in ways that don't inspire confidence. It creaks when you drop your gear next to it, and groans dramatically as you sit down, like an old man complaining about his knees. You wonder how many others have tried to sleep on it before you. The frame is bent, one of the legs is splinted with duct tape, and there's a faded Sharpie message scrawled under the fabric that says, R.I.P. Sergeant Gomez. You set down your rucksack and look around. The tent smells like a mix of sweat, canvas, and that one guy who insists on using Axe body spray like it's a defense mechanism. You try not to judge. You're all just doing your best. Outside, the generator hums. It's constant, low, vibrating, and weirdly comforting, like a really tired dragon trying to purr. That sound will be with you every night from now on. You can already feel it becoming part of your brain's background noise, like a soundtrack to your own personal war movie. Spoiler, it's a slow, quiet indie film, not an action blockbuster. You pull off your boots. Big mistake. The air instantly smells like betrayal and unwashed regret. Your socks could probably qualify as a biological weapon. You shake out a small dune of sand from each boot and wonder how it got in there when you haven't even sat down yet. The desert works fast. As you prepare your sleeping space, a familiar voice calls out from across the tent. Don't forget to check for scorpions. You freeze. Right, that's a thing. You lift your cot, check your sleeping bag, and shine your flashlight around like you're inspecting a crime scene. Nothing, for now. But you make a mental note to never ever skip that step again. One guy says he found a baby snake in his boot last week. He hasn't slept since. You don't blame him. Lying back for the first time, you notice something strange. Silence isn't really silence out here. Even in the middle of the desert, there's always something. Wind brushing over the canvas, sand shifting, a distant voice laughing, the flap of the tent rustling like a whisper you can't quite catch. And of course, the generator. That ever-present drone that fills in the space where your thoughts might start getting too loud. Historically speaking, desert warfare has always been a special kind of hell. Historians still debate whether the Persian campaigns or the WW1 North Africa campaigns were tougher on morale. But one thing they agree on, desert nights are long. And that hum of machines, even primitive ones, has always been part of it. Even back in World War I, soldiers wrote in letters about the sound of engines that never stopped, like mechanical lullabies in an age of gunpowder and mustard gas. And yet it's that noise, the same thing that powers the lights, the fans, the radios, that becomes your anchor. A weird kind of comfort. Something consistent in a world where nothing ever is. You shuffle in your bag, trying to find the one position that doesn't crush your hip bone or make your arm go numb. There isn't one. You consider just passing out from exhaustion and letting gravity do its worst. Then it happens. That moment when your body starts to settle and the rhythm of the generator syncs with your breathing. It's not glamorous, it's not poetic, but it's enough. Outside, a breeze kicks up, carrying fine dust into the edges of the tent. You smell gun oil and chewing gum. You hear someone nearby mumble about socks and hydration, and just like that, you realize you're here, in it, living the life you once only saw in grainy recruitment videos. And now, sleep isn't just something you want, it's survival. Tomorrow will come early, but for now, you close your eyes, and the desert hums you to sleep. The cot groans again as you roll over, and for a second, you wonder if you're about to experience a tactical collapse. There's a loud creak, one of those sounds that's always followed by a dramatic pause in sitcoms, and you instinctively freeze. The canvas stretches in protest beneath you, and you decide right then that tonight is not the night to test fate. You sit up slightly, inspecting the damage. It's still standing, technically, but now you notice the leg on the right side isn't touching the floor. You poke at it. It wobbles. You're now the proud owner of the world's first military-grade rocking chair, disguised as a bed. Welcome to your new nightly gamble. You shift your weight carefully, like a tightrope walker on leave, and try to find that mythical center of gravity they mentioned once during training. You find a spot that feels sort of stable and commit. Worst case scenario, you'll just crash to the floor and blame it on a scorpion attack, or ghosts, or that one private who eats beans at midnight. As you resettle, your back reminds you that you're not made of titanium. The cot's metal bar runs perfectly across the part of your spine designed for comfort. It's like lying on a chiropractor's nightmare. Every time you try to adjust, the cot sings its little symphony of creaks and squeaks. It's not the kind of music that lulls you to sleep. It's the kind that makes you wonder if something small and furry is watching you with amusement from under the canvas. You think about the guy 2 tents over, Staff Sergeant Dawson. He brought his own cot. A real one. Padded, reinforced, probably made from alien tech. He says it's from a camping store back home. You suspect it's from NASA. Historians still argue whether the Romans or the Greeks had better portable bedding, but nobody's sleeping like Dawson is. Outside, the generator continues its low purr. You'd think it would be annoying, but instead it's like audio glue holding the whole desert together. There's something strangely comforting about that mechanical drone. It drowns out everything else. Crickets, distant howls, even the intermittent yelling from the night crew playing poker too loudly. And then it happens. The unmistakable sound of duct tape ripping in the dark. Not from you, somewhere nearby. "Hey," someone whispers. "Yours too?" You don't answer. You just chuckle quietly. This cot situation is universal. You remember hearing that during the Gulf War, soldiers used sandbags and plywood to build more stable sleeping platforms. Some even dug shallow foxhole cradles for their sleeping bags to avoid rolling around. You try not to think about it, because now you're wondering if digging would help your setup. But there's no shovel, just imagination. So instead, you reach into your duffel and pull out the next best thing. An old hoodie. You bunch it up under your lower back. It helps. A little. Enough. You remind yourself that comfort is subjective. You are basically royalty now. As your body adjusts to the cot's personality, your brain begins its nightly routine, reviewing every awkward moment from your teenage years, calculating how long it's been since you changed your socks, and composing a list of things you'd rather be doing than this. At the top of the list, lying on a real bed. But a strange thing happens as the minutes pass. Your body stops resisting, your muscles unclench, your breath begins to mirror the rhythm of the generator. That ambient drone isn't just noise anymore, it's a lullaby. The generator, you realize, is like the world's worst sleep machine, and somehow the best one too. And the cot? It holds. For now. The canvas doesn't tear. The duct tape holds its line. You're still floating a few inches above the ground, and that feels like a miracle. It's not glamorous, It's not cozy, but it's enough. You pull the scratchy blanket up to your chest and stare at the ceiling of the tent, a fabric dome painted by shadows and sand. Then something brushes your foot. You freeze. Your breath catches. You slowly sit up, eyes wide, reaching for your flashlight like a knight drawing a sword. Click. The beam of light slices through the dark. You look down. Socks. Just socks. Apparently, the guy in the next cot kicked his laundry bag. His socks have now migrated like tiny desert tumbleweeds across the tent. You laugh. Quietly. A dry, dusty kind of laugh that says, "This is your life now." And maybe, just maybe, you're okay with it. You click off the light, let your head fall back onto your makeshift pillow, and decide that if the cot wants to fall apart, it can wait until morning. Tonight, the war can wait. The sand can wait. Even the socks can wait. Right now, you sleep. You think you're ready to sleep. You really do. But then your stomach, traitorous, loud, and unforgiving, decides to stage a full-blown rebellion. It starts with a subtle gurgle, nothing alarming. You ignore it, hoping it'll go away. But soon, it escalates into something more theatrical, a growl so deep and resonant that the guy in the next cot mutters, "Was that an animal?" Nope, just hunger. Big, stupid, dusty hunger. You sigh and sit up again, the cot making its usual complaints beneath you. The air inside the tent is still warm, even at night. It clings to you like cling wrap. You dig around in your pack for the only thing that stands between you and full-blown midnight hangriness. An MRE. Meal. Ready to exhaust. Your will to live. You pull out the brown plastic pouch and stare at it like it's a riddle sent by the gods. Beef ravioli in meat sauce. The font screams optimism, but your past experience suggests this is just regret in a pouch. You fumble through the contents, heater bag, main course, accessory pack, cookie-ish thing that crumbles if you look at it too hard. And then, buried near the bottom, like a buried treasure beneath the sands of time, peanut butter, the good kind, thick, velvety, slightly radioactive in texture but undeniably magical. It spreads like cold cement and tastes like home. People fight for this, literally. There's a guy in your unit who'll trade actual favors for peanut butter packs. Historians may never agree on the greatest culinary invention of wartime, but the peanut butter packet has to be up there. Napoleon had bread and wine. You have this. You fire up the chemical heater, not because you need the ravioli warm, but because the hiss and steam make you feel like you're doing science. The packet inflates slightly, like it's trying to escape its fate. You lean it against a rock or something vaguely sturdy and wait the standard 10 to 15 eternities for it to become edible. While it cooks, you open the cracker. Technically, it's a cracker. In reality, it's drywall in disguise. It's so dry it threatens to pull moisture out of your memories. You try it anyway, just to give your jaw a workout. The peanut butter helps, but barely. The ravioli? Well, it's food. That's the nicest thing you can say. It's warm, it's reddish, and it has a texture best described as confused. You eat it with a little brown spoon, the same one you've used since basic training. Soldiers joke that if you lose your issued spoon, you're dishonorably discharged. Maybe not true, but no one wants to find out. Outside, the generator keeps humming, like it doesn't care about your gastrointestinal journey. A few tents down, someone's laughing, probably watching downloaded sitcoms from a laptop held together with sand and prayers. You chew your ravioli slowly, letting your mind wander. There's something oddly grounding about eating an MRE in the dark. It's ritualistic. You're here, you're alive, and your worst problem right now is the mystery meat in front of you. That's not so bad. You remember reading that soldiers in World War II carried canned beans, powdered eggs, and something called hardtack, which was basically a fossilized biscuit used for both nutrition and self-defense. At least you have calories and options. Some historians still argue whether modern MREs are better or worse than their ancient counterparts. But they've never eaten the brownie bar that tastes like chocolate. and chalk had a bitter custody battle. You finish your meal, wipe your hands on a napkin that feels like it's made of tree bark, and feel satisfied. Not full, never full, but better. You lean back on the cot, belly no longer growling, and glance toward the ceiling of the tent. There's a small tear in the canvas, just wide enough to reveal a triangle of sky. Through it, you see a star winking at you, as if it knows what you just ate and is silently judging you. You smile. And then, like clockwork, the post-MRE regrets arrive. Your stomach starts making a different kind of noise now. The one that says, "You thought we were done, huh?" You clutch your midsection and take a deep breath. Nothing too alarming yet. Just a reminder that food in the field is always a gamble. You reach for your canteen and take a sip of water. Lukewarm, slightly metallic, still better than the meat sauce. You swish it around like it's mouthwash for trauma and lie back down. And as your body processes whatever just happened in your digestive system, your brain starts to wind down again. You hear someone in the next tent shout, "Hey, anyone got gum?" Someone else replies, "Trade you for peanut butter." Civilizations rise and fall, but bartering never dies. You roll over on your side, pat your belly like a dog who survived the trash can, and let the weight of the day pull you closer to sleep. The cot holds, the generator hums, and your stomach, miraculously, goes quiet. For now. You're not even sure why you're still awake. Your belly's no longer protesting. The cot hasn't betrayed you yet, and the generator continues to lull the entire camp with its faithful diesel lullaby. But something's keeping you from drifting off. It's subtle, like a whisper in the back of your skull saying, "Come on, just step outside for a second." So you do. You pull on your boots, because walking barefoot here is a speed run to tetanus, and duck out of the tent flap. The air hits different out here. Still warm, but with a faint breeze that smells like sand and faraway gasoline. You stretch your back and let your eyes adjust, and then you look up. The sky, oh man, the sky, is stupid beautiful. You've seen stars before, camping trips, power outages, one questionable night in Nevada. But this is something else entirely. Out here in the Iraqi desert, with no cities to wash out the night, the sky becomes a theater. Black velvet, studded with diamonds, stretched endlessly above you. The Milky Way isn't just a name here. It's a river of light, clear and fluid, like some celestial spill across the heavens. You feel like a speck, a beautiful sand-covered, slightly stinky speck, and you're not alone. A few other soldiers are scattered across the camp's perimeter, looking up in the same quiet awe. No one speaks. They don't have to. The sky says everything. You remember reading that Babylonian astronomers used this very sky to chart constellations and predict seasons thousands of years ago. This desert has always been a place of watchful nights and ancient wisdom. Historians still debate whether some of those early charts were meant for science or religion, but out here you sort of get why they'd mixed the two. You spot Orion, then the Big Dipper, then something that might be a plane, or maybe just a star tired of sitting still. A soft grunt breaks the silence beside you. "Hey," says Ramirez, the guy from 2 tents down, appearing out of the dark like a sleep-deprived ghost. "You ever think, like, maybe we're just NPCs in some alien video game?" You blink. That's your first thought under this sky. He shrugs. "Stars make me philosophical." You both stare upward in silence for a while. Somewhere off in the distance, a camel lets out a sound that can only be described as existentially offended. You both try to ignore it. You shuffle a few steps away and sit on a nearby rock. It's warm from the day's sun, and your body relaxes a bit more. This moment, is the kind of thing nobody talks about in war movies. The quiet, the beauty, the weird sense of peace in the middle of a place built for chaos. You pick up a handful of sand and let it slip through your fingers slowly. Even the grains glitter under the starlight. You think about home, not with sadness, but with distance. It feels like another life, like a dream that keeps slipping just out of reach. And out here, under this insane sky, It's almost okay. You breathe in deep. The air is dry and laced with something old. History, maybe. Or just engine fumes. Hard to tell. And for a moment, time just stops. No cot creaks. No stomach growls. No alarms blare. It's just you and the stars. And then, a meteor flashes across the sky. Fast, fleeting, but undeniable. You blink and sit up straighter. Did anyone else see that? Ramirez leans back on his elbows and whispers, "Wish made." You don't ask what for. You just nod. Because yeah, same. Eventually, you stand up, dust off your pants, and stretch your arms over your head. The wind shifts slightly, tugging at your shirt, reminding you that sleep still needs to happen. You've stalled long enough. Back inside the tent, it's darker now. The kind of thick velvet dark that makes you grateful for muscle memory. You collapse gently onto the cot, now less of a mechanical enemy and more of a begrudging ally. The generator is still humming, steady, rhythmic. You start syncing your breathing to it again. As you lie back down, that sliver of sky through the tear in the tent canvas is still there. Your own tiny window to infinity. And for the first time tonight, your eyes start to close with purpose. The desert doesn't sleep, but you can. It starts like always. A low, steady hum, almost imperceptible at first, like a thought you haven't fully formed. But as your eyes remain closed, it gets clearer, consistent, unwavering, like a pulse beneath the earth. The generator, your new therapist, lullaby machine, and white noise overlord. You used to think silence was peaceful, but out here, in the middle of nowhere, silence feels like waiting, like something's about to break it. That's why the generator matters. It doesn't just power the base, it anchors you. It fills the gaps where your thoughts might spiral too far out. And tonight, the hum is particularly hypnotic. You listen closely. There's a beat to it. A mechanical rhythm like some industrial musician left a track looping just for you. You imagine someone back home bottling this sound and selling it as combat sleep TM, now with 20% more diesel. You exhale, letting your body sink into the cot, and feel the noise settle over you like a weighted blanket. It vibrates softly through the ground, up through the cot frame, and into your bones. It's like being cradled by a machine that doesn't care whether you live or die, just that you stay powered through the night. Funny thing is, you used to hate background noise. At home, you were one of those dead silence or no sleep types. But now you need that hum. It's the sound of stability. The sound that says, no one's shooting at you right now. That's the bar. That's the comfort. Historically, soldiers have always relied on ambient sounds to stay grounded. During World War II, it was the drone of distant bombers, or the click-click of Morse code. During Vietnam, some used the rhythmic whir of chopper blades. And here, now, it's the generator, a spinning, chugging reminder that life goes on, even in the most surreal places. Your tent shifts slightly with the wind, and the canvas rustles like a sigh. Someone snores from 2 cots over, a long dramatic wheeze that could double as a dying vacuum cleaner. But it fades quickly into the background, consumed by the hum. You turn onto your side and imagine what the generator looks like right now. You've seen it up close before. Big, dented, covered in a fine coat of sand, with faded labels and mystery stains that defy explanation. It sits near the edge of camp like an old dog. Loyal, loud, and a little bit dangerous. Someone's probably on generator duty tonight. Usually Jenkins. Poor guy. He's always greasy and muttering about fuel mix ratios like it's a TED Talk. Once he claimed he could hear when the generator was off-tempo. No one believed him until he predicted a breakdown 2 hours before it happened. You smile at the memory. Jenkins and his generator whisperer vibes. As the hum continues, you start playing a mental game. You try to isolate the layers in the sound. The deep bass rumble, the metallic chatter, that occasional sputter that sounds like a hiccup. It's like an orchestra of utility. You wonder briefly if you'll miss it when you're gone. Probably. Not in a sentimental way. More like your brain will expect it. Like how you feel weird when your fridge stops humming and the house suddenly feels too quiet. You sigh and adjust your blanket, which does approximately nothing. It's thin, stiff, smells faintly of sand and industrial detergent. But at this point, it's like an old friend. Predictable, always there. You think of the guy last week who recorded the generator's hum on his phone so he could play it later when he transferred to a quieter outpost. Said it helped him sleep. Said silence made him feel exposed. Historians still debate whether it's the sound itself or the meaning behind the sound that offers comfort. Is it about volume, frequency, or is it the association? Noise as safety, noise as proof of structure in a world built on chaos. You don't know, but you know this. The generator is your lullaby. You drift, not quite asleep, but not fully awake either. That strange limbo state where the real world starts to blur at the edges. Your body feels heavy, and your mind starts conjuring strange images. Dreams trying to sneak in before the door fully opens. You see home, your old room, a real bed, pillows that don't collapse under your head like sad tortillas. The smell of laundry detergent instead of burnt fuel. The low hum of the air conditioner running on a summer night. Funny, the AC hum. It sounds just like the generator. Your lips twitch into a smile. Your breathing slows. The cot creaks once, lightly, like it's exhaling with you. The generator hums, and this time, you let go completely. It begins with a soft clicking sound near your ear. At first, you assume it's just the cot settling again, doing that thing where it shifts randomly like it's considering retirement. But the clicking persists. It's erratic, dry, like something with too many legs and no regard for personal boundaries. Your eyes snap open. You lie perfectly still. It's in the tent. You slowly reach for your flashlight, moving as if you're in a wildlife documentary narrated by someone very British. Here, we see the soldier in his natural habitat, still, silent, and internally screaming. Click. The beam of light cuts through the darkness like a searchlight from heaven. You sweep it across the floor, under the cot, along the seams of the tent. Nothing. You exhale, and then you see it, right by your boot. Tiny, shiny, fast. Some kind of beetle, or maybe a miniature armored vehicle powered by insect rage. It darts into a corner and disappears, probably off to file a complaint about your flashlight. Welcome to the nighttime wildlife tour. You sit up, glance around, and now that your eyes are open, you start noticing other visitors. A thin lizard clings to the canvas near the tent ceiling, doing its best impression of Spider-Man. A pale gecko, motionless but wide-eyed, watching, judging, probably better rested than you are. Then there's the camel spider. Oh yes, not a myth, not a rumor, a reality. It scuttles across the floor like it owns the place. Big, leggy, and just unsettling enough to make you rethink every choice that brought you here. You whisper to no one, "I am not paid enough for this." Camel spiders aren't technically spiders. They're solifugids, which is a fancy word for nightmare-made flesh. Historians have documented soldier encounters with them dating back to ancient desert campaigns. Alexander the Great supposedly had them in his camps. Some accounts claim they'd scream. They don't, but it feels like they could. You grab an empty water bottle and gently coax the spider toward the flap. It refuses. You try again. It turns toward you. You pause, questioning everything. Eventually, you nudge it outside like a bouncer escorting an uninvited guest. You zip the tent quickly and triple-check your boots before deciding sleep might still be an option tonight. Back on the cot, your brain refuses to shut up. What if it comes back? What if it brought friends? What if the lizard above you falls directly onto your face in the middle of a dream? You pull the blanket up like it's a shield against invertebrate insurgents and close your eyes. Outside, the desert stirs. You hear rustling, maybe the wind, maybe not. A chorus of tiny feet on sand. A hiss, a chirp, a cough from a nearby tent that sounds like someone trying to exorcise a ghost. You try to remember a time you slept in total peace, probably childhood. Maybe that one weekend in college when you slept for 14 hours and woke up unsure of the year. Now every twitch in the darkness feels like a mini horror film. Still, there's a strange rhythm to it, a kind of night song built from creatures doing their thing, eating, hunting, wandering, and generators humming steadily in the background like the bass line of a post-apocalyptic lullaby. You imagine all the life just beyond the light. Scorpions, owls, foxes. You've heard the stories. A guy once woke up with a jerboa in his sleeping bag. Another found his granola bar stash raided by ants that moved in with military precision. And yet, none of it feels truly threatening. It's more like you're a guest in their world. You, the outsider with your canvas walls and synthetic food. They, the eternal residents of this ancient place. And for a weird, fleeting moment, you feel honored to be part of it. You roll onto your side, cocoon yourself in the blanket, and focus on the soundscape. Click, scritch, swoosh, hum, breathe in, breathe out. You don't need silence. You just need rhythm. You just need to not think about the lizard above you. And eventually, without realizing it, you drift, not because it's safe, but because your body accepts that this, clicks, rustles, spiders and all, is the new normal. And sometimes, normal is enough. It's sometime in the middle of the night, though you couldn't say what time exactly. Because out here, clocks feel optional, almost rude. You're half asleep, that weird in-between state where your dreams have started decorating your reality. That's when you remember the letter. You sit up slowly, careful not to wake the now diplomatic cot, and reach for the small pouch by your side. It's soft, worn, and smells faintly like detergent from a home thousands of miles away. Inside is a folded piece of paper, creased, crinkled, and perfect. You unfold it carefully, as if it might crumble from nostalgia. The handwriting is familiar, your sister's. Big, loopy, slightly chaotic, like her personality distilled into cursive. She writes about home, about the dog chewing up the neighbor's fence again, about your mom trying a new recipe and setting off the smoke alarm, and about your niece asking why the moon looks bigger when uncle is away. It's simple stuff, and it destroys you. Not in a dramatic, cinematic tear-down-the-face kind of way, but in that quiet, private ache that only homesickness can deliver. The kind where you don't even realize your throat's tight until you try to swallow. You breathe slowly, letter in your lap, eyes scanning the tense shadows, like they might offer comfort. You think of all the soldiers who once did the same, cracked open letters in foxholes behind barricades, in jungle rain and trench mud. During the Civil War, parchment was a lifeline. During World War I, soldiers tucked letters into their helmets, sometimes never taking them out. Historians still recover them, faded, tear-stained, sometimes unopened. You fold the letter carefully and put it back, a little piece of home tucked away in canvas and nylon. And then you try to reply. You pull out your tiny notepad, smaller than a postcard, and start writing in the dim light from your flashlight, angled away so you don't disturb the sleep symphony around you. Dear Maya, still hot, still loud, still dusty. You write about the lizard that lives above your cot, about the MRE that might be slowly dissolving your insides, about how the stars here look like they're trying too hard. You write because it makes things feel less far away. Then you pause, because there's no Wi-Fi. Not really. You technically have access to a satellite connection, but calling it a connection is generous. It's more like asking the sky politely and hoping it forwards your request. You grab your tablet and wander out of the tent. It's dark, still. The air feels like warm breath against your face. The generator's hum follows you like a loyal pet. You find the usual spot near the comms tent, where you sometimes get 2 flickers of signal instead of 1. You raise the device and hold it at weird angles, above your head, to the left, out like you're offering it as tribute. Nothing, just the loading wheel of doom. You whisper to yourself, "Come on, Just one bar. I'll trade my dessert for a single bar. No dice. You remember once hearing about a guy who stood on top of a Humvee with aluminum foil wrapped around his tablet like some kind of tech sorcerer? It didn't work, but it looked impressive. Eventually, you give up. You'll send it tomorrow, or the day after, or eventually. Because time moves weird out here. It bends, stretches, loops. 1 minute you're eating a stale cookie, the next it's 3 days later and someone has a sunburn in the shape of a rifle. You walk back to your tent, slower this time, as if the desert might reveal something if you're quiet enough. The camp is still. A few murmurs, a snore, the flap of canvas in the wind. The hum never stops. You step inside and sit on the edge of your cot. That same lizard stares down at you from its perch. Still here? You mutter. It blinks. That's all. You stuff the letter under your pillow like a good luck charm and lie back down. You don't sleep right away. Your brain is still in letter writing mode, forming sentences to no one in particular. But eventually the rhythm returns. Generator, breath, heartbeat. Outside, the signal remains weak. But inside this tiny canvas world, you're connected to something that matters. Sleep finds you. Finally. Not all at once, but in gentle waves. First your limbs go heavy, then your breath slows, and soon your mind slips into that dream-like state where things don't have to make sense to feel real. You dream of cold air, not the biting kind, but cool, clean, artificial. You walk into a room, your room maybe, and instantly feel that perfect kiss of air conditioning on sunburned skin. The hum of the vent above you is soft, even-toned and deliberate, like it knows what you've been through. You smile in your sleep, because this is what you dream of now. Air conditioning, a real mattress, pillows, multiple, a fan overhead spinning in lazy circles, moving nothing but peace, and food that doesn't come in plastic bags designed for shelf life rather than happiness. It's funny what luxury becomes. You used to think it meant 5-star hotels or fancy cars. Now it's clean sheets, cold drinks, and silence that isn't laced with the possibility of alarms. You roll over in your sleep, mumbling something about thermostat settings. And somewhere deep in your mind, you remember the time you once complained about your room being too cold. That version of you had no idea. Out here, even at night, the air clings to your skin like wet parchment. It's cooler than the day, sure, but still thick. Still dry in that weird way where your nose burns if you breathe too fast. Your blanket is half off, half on, because your body can't decide if it wants to be covered or free. The cot creaks in protest as you shift again, but you barely notice because you're not really here. You're there, in a cool room, on a real bed, listening to the AC hum in perfect sync with your breath. It's not that you hate being here. You've accepted it, embraced it even, but your subconscious? It's got a one-way ticket to climate-controlled paradise, and it brings everyone with it. You dream of old friends, of your childhood dog, of that time you fell asleep on the couch with a bowl of popcorn on your chest and woke up to find it completely untouched. Miraculous. You dream of a fridge full of juice. Not water, not electrolyte powder, actual honest-to-goodness juice. Cold, glass bottle. Condensation on the outside like a Hollywood close-up. And in the corner of the room, a laundry basket full of warm, clean clothes. The scent of home stitched into every fiber. You sink deeper into sleep. And yet, even in your dream, you hear it. The hum. Not the fan, not the AC, the generator. It's followed you into sleep like a background score your brain refuses to mute. It fades in and out, sometimes soft, sometimes louder, but always present. Because even in fantasy, your body knows where it is and what it's doing. You don't flinch when it comes through. You don't wake up, startled or alarmed. You just accept it. Let it blend with the dream. Let it take up space in the quiet. Historians sometimes debate whether soldiers in long deployments begin to need the sounds of their environment. if the body adapts to the point that silence becomes foreign, even threatening. There's no consensus. But tonight, lying in your cot with one foot in a dream and the other in a desert, you know this. The generator is part of you now. Not romantic, not tragic, just real. You stir slightly as a breeze pushes through the tent's flap, lifting it like a curtain and letting in a breath of cooler air. Not much, but enough to stir the fabric, cool your forehead, and shift your dream just enough to make the blanket feel like your old comforter back home. You murmur something again, probably finally, and sleep takes you fully, wrapped in heat, carried by noise, cradled in the strangest peace you've ever known. Wow. There's no gradual return from a sound like that. The siren shreds your dream like a buzzsaw through silk. One moment, you're in your childhood bedroom under a soft blanket of central air. The next, you're upright on the cot, heart thudding, boots already halfway on, adrenaline hammering through your system like it pays rent. The tent is chaos. Not panicked, just fast. Practiced. Everyone's moving on instinct. The way you do when you've rehearsed this same wake-up drill a dozen times before. You hear zippers flying, people muttering curses, and someone yelling, "Check your gear," even though you already are. Helmet, check. Vest, check. That one glove that always hides, miraculously found, check. Your flashlight hits the tent ceiling as you clip it to your chest strap. Around you, other figures move in stuttered shadows. Half soldiers, half phantoms in the red emergency lights. The siren keeps howling, and you feel your body slipping into that strange autopilot where fear and focus blend until they're the same thing. You're out of the tent in seconds, boots pounding the sand, lungs pulling hot air, heart trying to punch its way out of your ribcage. You hit the rally point with the others. Crouch low, scan the dark. The desert stares back, indifferent and endless. And then, nothing. No explosions, no gunfire, no chaos. Just the siren, still going, and a familiar voice crackles over the radio. "All personnel, this is a scheduled drill. Repeat, scheduled drill. Stand down. You don't know whether to laugh or kick something. Scheduled drill." You drop to your knees, let out a long breath, and feel the sweat soaking into your collar like someone turned on a faucet inside your shirt. "Awesome," someone mutters. "Love rehearsing panic at 3 a.m. You get it though. You do. The drills matter. They keep you sharp, alive, prepared. But that doesn't make them any less infuriating when they hijack the only sleep you've managed to cobble together all week. You slump down next to a generator, its hum now weirdly comforting after the auditory assault of the siren. You lean your back against its warm metal side and let your head fall back. You're not even mad anymore. You're just hollow, running on caffeine you haven't had yet. Around you, others sit down too. Quiet groans, shoulder rolls. That one guy whose helmet always tilts slightly to the left like it's trying to escape his skull. A few jokes start bubbling up, sleep-deprived humor, absurd and perfect. "I thought I was being abducted," someone says. "I was ready to go. I even brought my travel toothbrush." You snort. Then someone else, more serious. "I dreamed I was home. For real. Then I woke up with my face in a boot." You glance at your own boot, just to make sure it's not currently doubling as a pillow. Close call. Historically, military drills have always walked that fine line between discipline and mild torture. Ancient Roman legions would train in full armor under the midday sun. Napoleon's troops would wake at odd hours for forced marches in case of surprise attacks. Historians still argue whether constant drills improve performance or just grind morale into paste. The truth probably lives somewhere in the middle. Tonight, you're leaning toward paste. Eventually, command clears everyone to return to their tents. No rush. You walk slower now, like your legs are made of wet rope. Back inside, the cot greets you like an old nemesis. You drop your gear, flop onto the canvas, and let out a noise that's not quite human. The generator hums again. Not as loud now, not after the siren, but steady, predictable, forgiving. You pull the blanket back up. Why, you're not sure. And close your eyes again, praying that your brain left the dream paused instead of ending the film entirely. Sleep won't come as easily now. Your nerves are still vibrating, your heart's still echoing the siren's rhythm. But your body's tired, and the night is still long, and the generator, bless it, hasn't skipped a beat. So you lie there, breathing, waiting, until finally, somehow, the desert takes you back. You don't know how long you've been asleep, but when you wake, it's different this time. No sirens, no rustling, no beetle on your face situations. Just a vague discomfort. Something's off. You shift under your blanket, still groggy, and feel a subtle tightness around your toes. Your brain's not fully online yet, but the question begins to form in the fog. Are you wearing socks? You stretch your legs, wiggle your feet. Confirmed. Socks. Still on. And just like that, you're wide awake. Not because of danger, but because you've stumbled into the eternal soldier's question. Socks on or off when sleeping in the desert? You've been on both sides of this philosophical war. Early on, you slept with socks because the desert nights were chilly, especially if the tent flap didn't zip fully shut. Plus, no one wants to step out onto a sandy tent floor barefoot and immediately regret existence. But then there's the flip side, the itch, the sweat. That horrifying moment at 3 a.m. when your feet feel like they've been microwaved in wool. You sit up and weigh your options like a general strategizing before battle. Socks off, more comfort, but potential exposure to mystery creatures and sand. Socks on, protection, but possible spontaneous combustion of your toes. You sigh. This is the stuff they don't cover in basic training. They teach you how to disassemble a rifle in the dark, but not how to navigate the politics of bedtime foot coverage. Someone coughs in the next cot. Another voice mutters, "Man, I can't sleep with socks on. Feels like my feet are suffocating." "Better than losing a toe to frostbite," comes a reply. "In Iraq? It's 90 degrees at midnight." The debate has begun. You remember a rumor someone told you? That elite snipers sleep with one sock on and one sock off so they can regulate their body temperature with ninja precision. You have no idea if that's true. Historians still argue over whether Roman centurions slept in sandals or barefoot. No clear consensus. You glance down at your own socks. Standard issue, olive drab, full of regrets. You peel them off. Instant relief. Your feet breathe a sigh of freedom. You lie back, stare at the ceiling, and wiggle your toes under the blanket like they're celebrating. And then, a horrifying thought. What if you have to get up fast? What if there's another drill, another siren? You don't want to be the person sprinting through the sand in bare feet, stepping on a beetle and crying in front of a corporal. You sit up. Again, you place your socks next to your cot. Strategically, not tucked in, not forgotten, just ready. You feel like a tactician. You lie back again. Now sockless, your feet feel cooler, calmer. You let your legs spread slightly, catching what little airflow there is beneath the blanket. It's not quite a breeze, but it's not a breeze. Your cot creaks but holds. The generator hums, probably judging you. You murmur to no one, "I swear if a camel spider shows up now." But nothing stirs. No scratching, no skittering, no crunching beneath the cot. Just a gentle thrum of desert noise. Wind rubbing against the canvas, distant murmurs from a night shift radio, the familiar lull of machinery doing its eternal loop. And you settle in again. You wonder what the sock verdict is across the world tonight. Somewhere, a pilot is curled up in a sleeping bag in Alaska, probably wearing 2 pairs. Somewhere else, a sailor in the Pacific has kicked his socks so far across the room, they'll be discovered by future archaeologists. You decide, with quiet confidence, that socks off was the right choice, at least for tonight. The cot agrees. The blanket adjusts just right, and as your eyes close again, the desert wraps around you like warm, gritty silence. Sleep comes back, not fast but steady, like it knows the terrain now. And your feet? They thank you. You wake slowly this time. No sirens, no creepy crawlies, no foot temperature crises. Just a quiet stillness and the ever-faithful hum of the generator outside, like an old friend snoring just out of reach. You don't open your eyes right away, because something feels different. There's a weight in the air, not literal but historical, like you've accidentally rolled over a memory that doesn't belong to you. Eventually, curiosity wins, and you sit up, rubbing the sleep from your eyes. The tent is dim, early morning light filtering through the canvas like soft tea. A shadow moves near the flap, and a voice mumbles, "You up yet?" It's Dawson, the NASA cot guy. "Come on," he says, jerking his thumb. "You gotta see this." You groan, but follow. Because when Dawson says you gotta see this, it's rarely boring. You step outside, boots crunching against the sand, and he leads you toward a low ridge behind the outpost. Nothing dramatic, just enough elevation to see over the wall and into the vast expanse beyond. And that's when you see it. Ruins. Faint outlines of stone structures scattered across the desert floor, half swallowed by time. Pillars, foundations, maybe a wall or two. Nothing flashy, no Indiana Jones-style temples, but ancient, unmistakable. History just sitting there. You blink. We're camped on top of something? Dawson grins. Apparently, one of the locals mentioned it last week. Said this used to be part of a Mesopotamian trade route. That thing over there? He points to a squat chunk of sandstone. Might have been a rest station, like an ancient 7-Eleven. You both stare in silence. It's surreal. Standing in your dusty boots, body still half asleep, realizing that thousands of years ago, other people walked this same path. Soldiers, merchants, farmers, maybe even poets. Each of them with sore feet, weird dreams, and probably strong opinions about socks. You remember reading that the Assyrians once dominated this region, their empires stretching across what we now call Iraq. They were known for brutal tactics, sure, but also for their intricate roads and stone reliefs. Historians still debate whether these routes were built purely for military purposes, or if they served sacred functions as well. You take a step forward, feeling oddly reverent. The sand crunches the same way under your boots as it probably did under theirs. You imagine a soldier from 700 BC standing where you're standing now, adjusting his armor, dreaming of shade. You wonder what he'd think of your gear, your tablet, your water bottle with a "Get In Loser" sticker, probably sorcery. You crouch down and touch the edge of one stone, warm from the sun already, worn smooth by centuries of wind and sand. It's humbling, honestly. Here you are, worrying about cot squeaks and MRE textures, and people before you were crossing this same desert, dealing with their own versions of chaos. Empire collapses, tribal conflicts, heat waves without hydration tabs. It makes your problems feel smaller, but not in a bad way, just more human. You and Dawson sit there for a while, not saying much. The generator hums in the distance, grounding you in the now, but your mind lingers in the past. Eventually, he breaks the silence. Think those guys ever had night drills? You smirk. Probably, but without helmets or coffee. He nods solemnly. Brutal. You head back to the tent, feet crunching over ancient paths. You wonder how many layers of life are buried beneath you. How many stories. How many people who just wanted a cool place to sleep, and maybe a piece of bread that didn't turn to sand in their mouth. Back inside, your cot awaits. The same duct-taped leg, the same lumpy blanket, but it feels different now, like part of a long, strange continuum. You lie down again, hands behind your head, staring at the ceiling and thinking about time, not as a straight line, but as overlapping footprints in the same sand. And as you start to drift again, the hum of the generator returns, just as ancient, just as needed. It starts as a whisper, a shift in pressure, The kind of sensation you don't consciously notice until it becomes impossible to ignore. Then the wind picks up. At first, it's just a soft breeze brushing against the canvas of your tent, like someone running their fingers along the fabric. Gentle, harmless. But the desert doesn't do harmless for long. You open your eyes as the second gust slaps the side of the tent harder, sending a ripple through the canvas and rattling one of the poles. You sit up, already bracing yourself. "Here we go again," someone mutters from the cot across from you. Because if there's one thing you learn quickly out here, it's how to tell the difference between wind and a sandstorm. This is the real deal. By the time you reach the tent flap, the sky outside has already started changing color. What was a calm, pale morning is now turning thick with bronze, like someone poured smoke through the atmosphere. Visibility drops by the second. The wind carries grit with it, fine, sharp sand that cuts across your skin like dry ice and gets into every possible crevice of existence. You zip the flap shut just as a gust nearly yanks it from your hand. Inside, things shift. Gear rattles. Your blanket lifts an inch, then drops again. The cot creaks in protest, as if offended that it might have to work harder now. And then the real show begins. The tent groans under the pressure. Every seam flexes. Every stitch stretches. The sand is relentless, hitting in waves, pelting the outside with the fury of a million angry granules. You grab your goggles and scarf and pull your blanket over the lower half of your face. Breathing becomes calculated, minimal. You hear a thud as someone's unsecured backpack is thrown into the side of your tent like it committed treason. The generator hums louder now, partly from strain, partly because the wind is messing with the acoustics. It no longer feels like a lullaby. It feels like a barrier, a mechanical shield against the outside world trying to come in and exfoliate your organs. Someone outside yells something, but the wind swallows it whole. You hear nothing but rushing, grinding chaos. The storm isn't just around you now. It's inside your ears, your clothes, your lungs. And yet, you feel calm. There's something strangely soothing about being totally, completely out of control. You're here. The storm is out there. The only thing between you and disaster is a flap of canvas, some metal poles, and a prayer. You wrap yourself tighter in the blanket. You don't need to do anything. Nowhere to be. Nothing to guard. Just endure. You hear someone coughing in the next tent, probably learning the hard way not to open their mouth too wide during a sandstorm. You lie down again, letting the storm play percussion on the tent walls. It's oddly rhythmic, beats against the canvas, a low whine through the seams. The generator's hum anchoring it all like a bass line, and the smell, well, it's not great. A mix of sweat, canvas, warm sand, and that one MRE packet someone left half-eaten, and now deeply regrets. But it's your space, familiar, comfortably awful. You think about the soldiers before you, those who fought in places like El Alamein or Tobruk. World War II, desert campaigns where wind and dust were just as dangerous as bullets. Stories of goggles fogging, rations turning into paste, and letters home arriving filled with grit. Historians still debate how much sand actually affected those battles. Some say it broke down morale faster than any enemy. Others believe it built resilience. Either way, one thing's clear. Nobody escapes the desert untouched. The storm rages on. You hear the flapping of untethered canvas somewhere nearby, and a thud as something heavy topples. You make a mental note to tighten your tent ropes next time, if they're still there when this ends. But you're not anxious. You're tired. The cot rocks slightly now with each gust, like you're on a very judgmental cruise ship made of wind and spite. But you've slept through worse. You tuck the blanket around your neck and close your eyes again, letting the storm lull you like a feral lullaby. And eventually, even through the howl and the hum, you drift off. You wake up colder than expected, which is weird because cold hasn't exactly been on the menu since you arrived here. But the air in the tent feels different. Stale, quiet, and just a little too still. The storm is gone. You sit up slowly, listening. The generator is humming again, like always. The wind has quieted. No more canvas flapping. No more airborne exfoliation. Just the eerie aftermath of a desert tantrum. You glance around the tent and immediately notice it. Your pillow is gone. Not fallen, gone. You blink twice, half hoping it'll rematerialize if you stare at the cot hard enough. But no, there's just the crumpled blanket, the duct-taped corner of the cot leg, and the very distinct absence of your government-issued, mildly lumpy, unexpectedly important pillow. Great, you mutter. You get up and look under the cot, then behind it, then under someone else's cot. Because maybe, just maybe, your pillow grew legs in the night and went searching for better accommodations. Nothing. You step outside the tent, blinking against the early sun and post-sandstorm haze. The whole outpost looks like someone tried to shake it like an Etch-a-Sketch. Sand piled in weird places, a trash bin tipped over, a tent half collapsed near the comms post, and off to the side, something flaps gently in the breeze. You walk over. There, sitting half buried under a supply crate, is your pillow, coated in sand, bent at an unnatural angle, offended, ashamed. You pick it up carefully, as if handling the remains of a small animal. It was once a rectangle, now it's more of a trapezoid. You shake it out, trying to restore its dignity. Some of the stuffing has migrated. The cover is twisted. You consider filing a formal complaint with the storm. Behind you, someone chuckles. Lose a battle, huh? It's Ramirez holding his own pillow, wrapped in a t-shirt and duct taped like it owes him money. I think it tried to escape, you say. He nods, solemn. Happens to the best of them. You bring the pillow back to your tent and give it a quick inspection. Technically still functional. Spiritually, deeply wounded. You toss it back on the cot and plop down beside it. The cot groans like it's also recovering from last night's weather event. You lie down and feel the familiar scratch of sand against your cheek. You ignore it, because that's what you do now. You ignore it. The pillow might be misshapen, but it's yours. You've sweated into it, sworn at it, hugged it once when nobody was looking. And anyway, perfection is overrated. You stare up at the tent ceiling, watching the light shift as the sun rises. The air smells fresher now, washed by wind. There's a strange stillness to the outpost, like everyone's just quietly grateful the storm didn't do worse. Your pillow crackles slightly when you shift your head. There's sand inside now, somehow. You don't want to know how. You remember reading about ancient nomads, how they'd carry personal sleep mats or leather cushions across vast deserts, preserving comfort in whatever form they could. Historians still find pillow stones buried in graves along old trade routes. Stone pillows. Stone. Imagine that. You think about mailing your pillow home with a note. Tell its story. Let it rest. But instead, you fluff it the best you can, which is to say, you punch it once and close your eyes again. The storm is over. Your pillow is wounded but alive. And somewhere, in the quiet between the wind and the generator hum, the desert exhales. You're drifting again, somewhere between awake and asleep. When it happens, a voice, not loud, not urgent, just honest. Hey, you ever think about what you'll do when you get back? You blink your eyes open slowly. It's dark again, the kind of desert night that's thick and velvet and full of secrets. The generator is humming low, the cot is mercifully quiet, and the air inside the tent is warm but still breathable. You roll over toward the voice. It's coming from Dawson, lying on his NASA cot, staring at the ceiling like it's a movie screen. You hesitate. Then answer, just as softly. Not really, which is a lie, a kind one. Everyone here thinks about it. What happens after? What comes next? But the future feels slippery when you're operating on dust, adrenaline, and ration cookies that taste like flavored chalk. Dawson exhales. I think I'm gonna open a bike shop. Nothing fancy. Just, grease, tools, peace. You nod, even though he can't see you. There's a pause. Then he adds, I used to work in one, before, high school job. It was dumb and perfect. You lie there, facing the canvas wall, letting the words soak in, and without even meaning to, you say, I used to fix guitars. It surprises you, not because it's untrue, but because you hadn't said it out loud in forever. You used to sit in your dad's garage, restringing old acoustics, tuning them by ear, learning patience one string at a time. Dawson chuckles. You still play? No idea, you say. I haven't touched one in years. The silence that follows isn't heavy. It's comfortable. The kind of silence that happens between two people who are awake when the rest of the world is asleep. You think of home, not in broad strokes, but in tiny details. The smell of wood shavings, the dust on the old amp, the sound a string makes the moment it goes from wrong to right. You close your eyes again. Somewhere, far off, a fox howls into the desert night. It's a lonely sound, high and sharp, like it's calling for something it lost a long time ago. And then Dawson says, I don't think I'll be the same when I leave here. You reply without hesitation. Good. He lets out a breath. Not quite a laugh, not quite a sigh. Yeah, he says. Yeah. You both go quiet again. The generator ticks slightly. The fabric of the tent shifts with the breeze. A distant engine starts and fades. The night has its rhythm. You wonder how many other conversations like this are happening across the desert right now. Two voices in the dark, tethered by fatigue and dreams. You remember something a sergeant once said, the best talks happen when no one's fully awake. You didn't get it at the time, you do now. Historians often write about wartime camaraderie, how it's born not just from hardship, but from the small, intimate moments that never make it into documentaries, the whispered jokes, the quiet confessions, the mutual understanding between two people sharing a tent, a sky, and 1,000 thoughts that never quite find daylight. You and Dawson don't speak again that night. You don't need to. You both fall asleep slowly, together but apart. A little more human, a little more real. And as your body surrenders to sleep, you think, when I get home, maybe I'll restring a guitar. Not because the world demands it, but because it's yours. You wake up before sunrise. Not because you have to. Not because of drills or alarms or Beatles tap dancing on your forehead. You just do. There's a stillness in the air that feels different this morning. Lighter. Like the desert is holding its breath for just a few moments, letting you experience what quiet really means before the noise returns. You sit up on the cot, your faithful, barely held together cot, and stretch your arms overhead. Something pops in your back. You're not even mad about it. The tent is bathed in the softest blue. That in-between color the sky wears right before dawn, when the stars haven't fully faded and the sun hasn't committed yet. You pull on your boots, dust off your hands, and step outside. The outpost looks beautiful, in a weird, sun-baked, sand-in-everything kind of way. You walk to the same ridge where Dawson showed you the ruins days ago. The wind is gentle this morning, brushing over the dunes like a sleeping giant exhaling through a cracked window. You pause at the top. The horizon is starting to glow. Not fiery or dramatic, just warm. Soft gold bleeding into pale blue. You take a breath and feel it fill your lungs in a way that makes you forget, for a moment, how tired you've been. Behind you, the generator hums. Still running, still reliable. You can't see it from here, but you know exactly how it looks. Boxy, dented, loyal. It's been with you through every section of this journey, through sleep and sweat, through silence and storms. You close your eyes for a moment and just listen. Wind, breath. It's not music, not really, but it's yours. And it's enough. You think about everything. The sand, the socks, the arguments over hot sauce packets, the one camel spider that made you question your place in the universe. You think about letters from home and dream guitars and cold juice that doesn't exist here. And you realize something. You're going to miss this. Not all of it. Not the stomach issues or the itchy uniforms or the MRE that smelled like burnt regret. But this? This moment? This sense of being here. You'll miss it. You head back to your tent slowly, giving the desert one last look over your shoulder, like you're saying goodbye to someone you've grown to understand, even if you never really liked them. Inside, Dawson's already packing up his gear. "Morning," he says, not looking up. You nod. "Yeah." "You sleep?" You shrug. "Eventually." He chuckles. "Same?" There's no big farewell, no dramatic handshakes or swelling orchestral score. Just two people folding things and pretending that none of it meant more than it did. But you both know it did. You reach under your cot and grab your pillow. Still weirdly shaped. Still partially full of sand. You hold it for a second longer than necessary, then stuff it into your duffel. When everything's packed, you sit on the edge of the cot and wait for the call to move out. It'll come soon, and when it does, you'll go. You'll load up, ride out, and leave this little patch of desert behind. But before you do, you lean back just once more and close your eyes. The generator is still humming. The desert is still breathing, and you, just for a second, feel whole. So now, everything grows quiet. The sun continues its rise, casting soft shadows on tents that will soon be folded, on footprints that will fade with the next wind. You lie back one last time, not on a cot now, but in memory. The sounds that once distracted you now feel distant, softened by time. The rustle of canvas, the crunch of sand under boots, the faint chuckle of a friend in the dark. They're all still here, just quieter. The generator hums on, not loud anymore, not even present, just remembered. Your breath slows. Your body eases into stillness. There's no rush now, no tension, just the weight of warmth on your chest and the distant scent of dry earth under a sky slowly shifting from gold to gray-blue. You think of home, but not as a place. You think of comfort, but not as a thing. You think of rhythm and presence and peace. And as the last echo of the generator fades into the hush of the morning wind, you find yourself in the most surprising place of all. Rested, whole, and ready to let go. So close your eyes. Feel the quiet settle around you like a blanket you didn't know you needed. You're safe now. You're home. Wherever that may be. Sleep well, traveler. Sleep deep. Sweet dreams.